Do we have an odd man out situation in the Lions secondary? Might be a good thing.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we're back with another edition of Locked On Lions, everybody, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. It is Thursday, June 13th and a Friday, June 14th. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, Google, on the video side. Thank you for watching and subscribing on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, and the Matt Derry Facebook fan page. A shout out to our everydayers who are out there that watch and listen each and every day. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode. We walked down memory lane with a legendary Mike O'Hara, who has just spent the last 12 years at DetroitLions.com. He covered the Lions for 47 years and retired on Monday. So if you missed Mike from yesterday, go back and check it out. He had some great things to say and spoke so highly, too, of Martha Firestone Ford. Talked greatly about Sheila. But I like what he said about how he saw covering the team there was a difference between dad and mom when it came to husband and wife, when it came to owning the team and how much Martha wanted to win, and now what Sheila has done has been tremendous. So check that out from yesterday. All right, Locked On Lions today brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app if you're looking for tickets. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Coming up on the show today, very interesting discussion about where the Lions are with their cornerbacks and with their safeties. Chris Spielman was on a podcast recently, speaking very highly of one member of the secondary, and there's a logjam there, which is great. That means the Lions have talent, lots of talent, and lots of depth. But there may be an odd man out when we start the season in terms of somebody who might not be getting a lot of playing time that maybe we expected would. We'll get into that coming up momentarily on the program. Also, Pro Football Focus put their guard rankings out. Where are the Lions starting guards of Graham Glasgow and Kevin Zeitler on the top 32 list at Pro Football Focus? We'll get into that. And also, our buddy, as I like to call him, the executive producer, the EP, Nathan Litke, who's an everydayer and watches and listens to the show every day, sent me Chris Sims's quarterback rankings. And this is actually a quarterback list that I can get down with. It's actually not bad when we talk about Jared Goff, who, of course, got dissed in the PFF rankings, and there's some other places that also doesn't like Jared Goff, but this ranking was pretty good, so we'll get into that as well right here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Real fast as well, Jake Riepma, Locked On Detroit Sports. If you've not seen this yet, if you've not listened yet, check it out. Type in Locked On Detroit Sports in YouTube or go to Locked On Detroit Sports wherever you get your podcasts. Jake Riepma is the host. He's on after every Tigers game, after every Pistons, Wings, and even Lions games with the postcast. So Tigers were playing today. I think they won. They were up 7-2 late. Check out all of the reaction from Jake on Locked On Detroit Sports on the postcast. All right. So the other day, there were some people putting out some lists, and they were talking about the secondary. Oh, news of the day. Terrion Arnold signed his rookie contract. He threw out the first pitch at Comerica Park today, and he signed his rookie contract. So all Lions draft picks are now signed and going to be ready to go for rookie mini camp and then, of course, training camp after that. Terrion Arnold, of course, Lions first round pick. We know this. He's going to be out there. He's going to play at some point. He's going to make a big deal, or he's going to make a big splash, we hope, with this team and be a nice addition for this team as he comes in at cornerback, joining the likes of Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw and Vildor and all these guys, Emmanuel Mosley, if he's healthy on this roster. So it got me to thinking about the secondary and where it stands and how it looks right now and what took place also during mandatory minicamp, because there were some times where Terrion Arnold was starting and he was out there with Carlton Davis and with Amik Robertson. And we know this, once he's healthy, Kirby Joseph will be back there at free safety. So it got me to thinking, as I read today on prideofdetroit.com, an unbelievably good website that, of course, Jeremy Reisman, Eric Schlitt, and all the writers there do such an amazing job. And they recap the day's events for Lions fans and do a remarkable job. I'm a big Pride of Detroit fan. We love those guys. They're really, really good at what they do. And Jeremy put out a piece about Chris Spielman going on his brother's podcast. His brother, Rick Spielman, former NFL GM, and analyst Ryan Wilson hosts a show called the First Pick Podcast. And the Lions special assistant to owner Sheila Hamp and President Rod Wood, Chris Spielman, the former Lion legend, was on the show with his brother. And they asked him about draft picks and steals and, good draft picks. And Spielman went on and on about Brian Branch, the team's, of course, second round pick from last year. And Chris said, quote, with Brian, all you had to do was watch the film. The dude was maybe one of the best tacklers that I've ever seen. And as far as if a guy did catch the ball, he'd eliminate yards after the catch. His coverage, his movement skills, his instincts were off the charts. He's just a great football player. Nobody cared what he ran. We just knew what he saw against the best competition that was out there in the SEC, playing against some of those receivers. He went on to say, I really think that he may go down. Now, I could be wrong, but might go down as one of Brad Holmes' best draft picks. You start evaluating. Obviously, he had some good ones. End quote. So Chris Spielman really giving some love to Brian Branch. And it got me to thinking, all right, we know this. Carlton Davis is going to play. We know Kirby Joseph is going to play. We know Brian Branch is going to play. I think Terrion Arnold was drafted in the first round to be on the field. And Amik Robertson was signed to a 2-year free agent contract. He's not going to be just some bit player. So if you've got, let's just say, Arnold on one side, Davis on the other, Robertson at the nickel or the slot, Branch has to be on the field. Joseph has to be on the field. Doesn't that leave out Iffy Melifonwu? Now, again, last year, maybe the biggest surprise of a whole year was the resurgence in the second half of Iffy Melifonwu, second year or third year? Third year man out of Syracuse, who has been injured a lot, hasn't played. 1 minute he's at corner, 1 minute he's at safety. Then they kept him at safety, but he's been a backup and a special teams player for really the first handful of years with the team. Then last season, due to injury, CJ Gardner-Johnson was out. Brian Branch had to miss some games. And all of a sudden, Iffy Melifonwu, CJ Moore was suspended. Iffy had to be out on the field. And give credit to Aaron Glenn, future head coach. I mentioned that in a while. Aaron Glenn did a great job of turning Melifonwu into not only a ball hawk and somebody that really handled the pass well at strong safety, but he came up as a blitzing safety, got to the quarterback, and made some big plays. He's a good tackler, blitzing safety, getting sacks. So you're like, man, we don't need to re-sign CJ Gardner-Johnson. We got Iffy now. There's no reason to bring back Gardner-Johnson. Not only that, Gardner-Johnson, when he got healthy at the end of the year, was bitching about sharing snaps. Bye. That doesn't fly in that locker room down at 222 Rodwood Drive. Not at all. So he's gone. So now you figure Melifonwu moves right in. But the problem is you listen to Spielman talk, and I read you those quotes, talking about a guy that can tackle so well, be so good against the pass. Brian Branch, I would think if you're drafting Arnold, you got Davis, a lot of money, veteran, guy they were going to rely on. You spent on Amik Robertson. I really believe Brian Branch is going to be playing a lot more safety than nickel corner. Now, again, if teams spread you out 4 or 5 wide and you need extra corners, sure, Branch could play that. If he comes back in as a safety, you've got other, if Emmanuel Mosley is healthy, he's going to be out there. Kendall Vildor is there for depth, and you've got Ennis Rakestraw. You've got a lot of options. But doesn't this appear like a Brian Branch move back to safety is in the cards, which would then kind of leave Iffy on the sidelines? You're not drafting Terrion Arnold in the first round to not play. He's going to play. He's not going to be. Amik Robertson talks a big game for a guy coming off of free agency that was kind of nondescript with the Raiders, and he backs it up. He's been tough. He wants to be out there. and they gave him a 2-year deal, and he's a veteran. He's been there. So I would venture to say competition in the secondary is great. Dan Campbell said, we don't know who's playing where. It's a lot of competition. But at the end of the day, when you really look at it and the way that Spielman is talking about Brian Branch is going to be out there. And Kirby Joseph's going to be out there. Terrion Arnold's going to be out there. Carlton Davis is going to be out there. So what is that? How do they finesse that? My guess is that Melifonwu is not going to get the snap counts. We're not going to see the snap counts that we saw from him at the end of this last season. Now, again, injuries happen, stuff happens. All right. But that's my guess if we're talking about it today on June 13th. All right. Coming up next, Pro Football Focus discussing guards. And where do the Lion guards rank? We will do that next right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at Gametime. NBA Finals. Oh, my goodness gracious. 3-0 Celtics. If you're somehow tomorrow night going to be down in Dallas or you're in Texas, maybe you're a listener or a viewer down in Texas, you want to go to the game, well, you can get pretty good price tickets at Gametime. They make NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier to get. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Recently, I was on the Gametime app. My Guardians are coming into Comerica Park July 8th through the 11th. Was looking at some prices. I love clicking on the view from your seat. You can turn right, you can turn left. You get that feel for exactly where you are sitting at Comerica Park. Get your Tiger tickets on Gametime. Lion tickets, of course. We got the home dates. We know about Rams and Bucks and Seahawks and all of that. Thanksgiving Day against the Bears. Get your tickets at Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, back on Locked On Lions here on a Thursday edition. This has been a long week. Seems like this week. Today has like a feel of like a Friday. But regardless, it's a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. We love Pro Football Focus. You know, we love PFF. Had some issues with some of their lists, some of their rankings, including Jared Goff being the 16th best quarterback. But lately, we've been agreeing with where they are when it comes to where the Lions rank with individual players on their positional rankings. Today, we look at PFF Guard rankings, top 32 ahead of this season, written by Thomas Valentine. This was from last week. So you look at guards, and this is a tough one because how many of us really watch the offensive line tape? All right, really pay attention to who the best guards are. Everybody knows who the great tackles are because those guys get paid. The centers, those are the guys that are the quarterbacks of the team that are calling out the defensive signals and everything else and pointing out who's going to block who. And we know about how good Frank Ragnow is. As far as guard play goes in the NFL, PFF says Chris Lindstrom from the Falcons is the best guard in the NFL. Joe Thuney of the Chiefs, number 2. Sam Cosmi of the Commanders at number 3. I can be honest and say that I've never heard of Sam Cosmi. Tyler Smith of the Cowboys at 4. Quinn Miners of the Broncos is 5th. Even know who that is. Kevin Zeitler of your Detroit Lions. Pretty big pickup by Brad Holmes in the offseason on that 1-year deal from the Ravens in free agency. Kevin Zeitler comes in at number 6 on the list. The write-up on Zeitler. Quote, Zeitler earned the first Pro Bowl nod of his career last year, a long overdue accolade for the veteran guard. He has consistently been one of the best pass blocking guards in the NFL since he was drafted by the Bengals in 2012. After 3 years with the Ravens, Zeitler joined the Lions this offseason and will become an integral part of an already stellar offensive line. His 82.5 PFF pass blocking grade in 2023 ranked second, and his pass blocking grade has dipped below 70 only once in his career back in 2020. I like it. I like it a lot, seeing Kevin Zeitler as a top 10 guard and sixth on this list. Rounding out the top 10, and I don't know where Joel Bitonio is next because that guy's awesome. Zach Martin, 7 of the Cowboys, Bitonio, the Browns, 8, Wyatt Teller of the Browns, 9, and Robert Hunt of the Panthers was 10. Quentin Nelson, not in the top 10, is a bit of a surprise. He comes in at number 11. So scrolling down, and I'm looking some more. What about Graham Glasgow, who last year had a really, really solid year for the Lions at right guard, and this year will move over to left guard now that Jonah Jackson is gone, and Zeitler is more of a right guard. We know this about Graham. He can play anywhere on the offensive line. He can play guard. He can play center. He comes in on this list of the top 32 at 27. 27. Quote, Glasgow returned to the Lions in 2023 after 3 seasons with the Broncos and slotted in at right guard. The veteran earned a 75.1 PFF overall grade in 16 games, the 8th highest among all guards in 2023, while his 82.1 run blocking grade ranked 5th. He was rewarded with a 3-year, $20 million contract to return to the Lions in the offseason and will resume his role as a starting right guard as one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Now, again, PFF says he's going to play right guard. I believe they're moving him over to the left side because Zeitler is really good on the right side, and Graham can play the left side. He's played left guard for the Lions before. What's interesting is his overall PFF grade was 8th highest among all guards, yet he's 27th on this list. He is behind the likes of Nate Davis of the Bears, Connor McGovern, Will Hernandez, Shaq Mason, guys like that. Elton Jenkins, Landon Dickerson of the Eagles is 15. Tevin Jenkins is 16. I think that's a little bit low for Graham Glasgow. I think he's better than 27. I really, really believe that. Now, what's ironic about this is the Lions let Jonah Jackson walk in free agency. He was given a big-time deal by the Rams, 3 years, $51 million. Yet he came in on this list at number 30. So they talk about his 61 PFF overall grade last year, which was not as good. His run blocking was down. He's now with the Rams, but he ranked behind both Zeitler at 6, Glasgow at 27 on this list. And we've talked about this before, and this was a big discussion right here on this very show. Will the Lions let Jonah Jackson walk? And the answer was yes. Brad Holmes and the front office did not believe $17.5 million a year for Jonah Jackson was worth the squeeze. Rams obviously had a need for an interior offensive lineman. They went out and got him to protect Matthew Stafford. The Rams have rebuilt their offensive line quite nicely with guys like Dotson and Jackson. But Jonah's being paid a lot more. Jonah's getting 3 years, $51 million. Yes, he's younger than Graham Glasgow, but Glasgow's getting 3 at 20. And Glasgow ranks 5 spots higher or 3 spots higher on this list than Jonah does. Again, it's market, it's free agent, it's timing when we talk about free agency. But man, I think the Lions, if you kind of read this and go, they dodged a bullet a little bit because they didn't want to spend on a guy that they didn't think was going to be that good. And then on this list, he comes in at number 30 behind both players, both starters for this year on the team. Kevin Zeitler is just on a 1-year deal, and the veteran Graham Glasgow. So interesting for sure, but good to see the Lions continue to get their players ranked very highly. And a guy like Zeitler coming in and immediately being a top 6 guard goes to show. And Brad Holmes on a 1-year deal, getting him for what, $6.5 million? Love it. Absolutely love it. It's a steal. And you got to win. That's where you win, is up front. That's where you win, is with the offensive line. Tom Brady got elected into the Patriots Hall of Fame last night. And they had a big ceremony for him. It was really cool. I saw some of the videos. Tom Brady was excellent. Don't get me wrong. He's the best to ever do it. All right. He's the GOAT. He's the best quarterback of all time. But he didn't take a lot of hits in the 20 years he played for the Patriots because he had really, Really good offensive lineman. And a great scheme to go along with it. All right, coming up next, speaking of quarterbacks, Jared Goff does not get dissed on this list. We will explain coming up next. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? You have to turn down the volume with all that shouting and screaming going on? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so my man Nathan Litke, I like to call him the executive producer, hit me up with a new list that I wanted to share with everybody. And this is another quarterback list. We told you about PFF and how they kind of dissed Jared Goff a little bit, had him 16th best quarterback. You've seen some where he's 12th. You've seen some where he's 14. I'm not buying it. Jared Goff to me is a top 10 quarterback right now in the NFL. He is. He's earned it. He's played well. He's paid like it, getting over $50 million a year. So Chris Sims, of course, from PFT and all that, Yahoo Sports, his annual 40 quarterback countdown. Chris Sims's top 40. I'm not going to read you all of them, but let's just do it. Patrick Mahomes 1, Josh Allen 2. Not a surprise. Joe Burrow comes in at 3, Lamar Jackson 4. A little bit of a surprise here. Matthew Stafford, the former Lion, 5th, top 5 in the entire league. Justin Herbert 6, CJ Stroud of the Texans 7, Dak Prescott, what a great regular season last year, number 8 with the Cowboys. Jalen Hurts at 9 with the Eagles, and then Jared Goff number 10. Yes. Thank you, Chris Sims. Thank you. That's exactly where Jared Goff needs to be. You want to make an argument about Prescott or Stroud, who's only played 1 year, or Jalen Hurts, who really second half of last year did not play well, and I think a lot of it was injury. But Jared Goff not being in anybody's top 10 is a travesty. So he made top 10 on this list, which makes me happy. It's correct. It's the right call. Look at the numbers the last 3 years. Look what he's done when it comes to winning time. Look at the completion percentage. Look at the touchdowns. Yes, he's not going to run around. Sure, he's not eluding tacklers, scrambling like Justin Fields. Give me a break. Rest of the top 20, Trevor Lawrence, 11, Kirk Cousins, 12, Jordan Love, 13. A lot of people have Jordan Love ranked a lot higher than Chris Sims has him. Aaron Rodgers, 14. How about Aaron Rodgers not at Jets mandatory minicamp? Where is he? Oh, they knew he wasn't coming. He had another engagement. That I'm telling you, that jet bandwagon is going to fill up, and then it's going to empty. Baker Mayfield 15, Kyler Murray 16, Brock Purdy, who some people have had ahead of Jared Goff in their standings and rankings, 17th. Tua 18, Geno Smith 19, and Caleb Williams, who hasn't played a single down of NFL football yet, comes in at number 20. The 40th quarterback on this list, dead last of anybody that could start, is Jarrett Stidham. Of course, Jared Stidham and Bo Nix will battle it out in Denver. My point about giving you this list is I respect Chris Sims. I like him. I think he does a good job on the Pro Football Talk Show with Mike Florio. But he put Jared Goff at 10. And to me, some of these lists, it's tough to rank quarterbacks. I get it. You know, at PFF, they talked a lot about the big time throw percentage. Now, Jared Goff didn't make a lot of big time throws in terms of into coverage down the field. Yes, the Lions do dink and dunk a lot, but Jared Goff has the ability to make big time throws. I think in this offense with what Ben Johnson does and the quick hitters and the ability for the guys out of the backfield to catch the football like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Yes, maybe Jared Goff doesn't have to fit it into tight windows 30, 40 yards down the field. Maybe his completion percentage per throw, or I'm sorry, his yardage per throw maybe isn't up there with the likes of Tua and others who've got Tyreek Hill streaking down the field. But Jared Goff's a top 10 quarterback. Jared Goff's being paid like that now too. He's a winner. All right. If I'm putting two quarterbacks in a contest, accuracy, everything else with no pads on, and it's Goff and it's Purdy, I'm taking Goff. If it's Goff and it's Cousins, I'm taking Goff. If it's Goff and Trevor Lawrence, I'm taking Goff. Yes, Trevor Lawrence was also a top number one pick. Yes, a couple years ago, he looked like the real deal. But to me, Goff has shown, yes, it's a system. Yes, Ben Johnson, sure, Amon-Ra, Laporta, who cares? Goff delivers. He's earned a top 10 status, and Chris Sims gave it to him, and that I appreciate. He is not 16th, like Trevor Sikkema had him at PFF, and I love Trevor, but I didn't agree with that, not at all. All right, that wraps up another week of Locked On Lions. We are off tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday. Thanks to all of you for making Locked On Lions your first listen. Thanks to our everydayers that are on YouTube, on our comment section. Appreciate it. Go back and watch the show with Mike O'Hara from yesterday, right here on Locked On Lions. We'll talk to you.